back, friends.
Welcome.
It's Niijii here.
Urbanamp.
It's February 26th, 2018. And we're outside. As usual. Yeah, as usual.
And it's
cold. It's cold. Let's get that out there right now. This is probably going to be short.
If you hear the sound of chattering teeth, that's what it is.
We got some pictures of the sky. Or just do a chemtrail thing real quick.
Yeah. Sorry. So you mentioned. Again, I still have not seen anything.
Okay.
My neighborhood haven't seen anything. You mentioned to me, I think.
Was it today? Or
2 days ago.
No. Okay.
Yesterday.
So Sunday.
So yeah, I think so. You mentioned that they started spraying again, but not in my area.
But not and it wasn't a lot. It was just a couple. It was a few, but it was definitely noticeable because it was still there. And
now, did they transform and persist and become clouds, or did it sort of eventually, they stay lines and fade away?
It was, since they were spraying a lot, it kind of dissipated, but it was like a haze. You can kind of still see it, but it wasn't enough to connect with anything and grow.
How was the wind? Because it's been pretty still around my house until today.
Still?
Yeah.
The wind was... It was cool, not really windy though. Not windy. It was cool, but not. Can't really. The wind wasn't enough of a factor to be.
There wasn't like a wind chill, right?
No.
Yeah. No. I was. Yeah. I had. It was pretty still. No real wind. It's been cold, but it's been that same kind of HD 4K everywhere, just a little more chilly. No wind, no real clouds either. No activity from that ground-based vapor generator thing that I talk about. No chemtrails. I have been noticing contrails.
Okay.
like throughout the day, probably 3 or 4 contrails. But so this morning, and I think that this is sort of interesting that that we have sort of an update on the Skywatch, and it's like, well, it's kind of pertinent because this morning, my wife was like, oh, the weather forecast is supposedly we have a 70-80% chance of rain this evening, 7 or 8 or something, and I was like, where are you looking at? Because if you look outside, it's beautiful blue sky, not a single cloud, and no wind at all. So I was just like, where do clouds come from without a wind factor or anything? I was like, okay, sure, hon, whatever. I just kind of blew it off, As the day progressed, and I spent a lot of time outside with the kids. We're fixing the yard, the garden, and kind of building up our homestead and everything, right? And so we're outside a lot lately, right? And throughout the morning, the wind started picking up. More and more little breezy. What's going on? And then we look up, and slowly over on the east, sort of southeast, we see tiny little clouds coming in, making their way in, but still not a single chemtrail. Okay, so I was like, okay, well maybe this is for real. I mean, this is strange because. And then I leave for work, and on the way in, I'm driving in, and I notice that in sort of the northwest kind of distance is a big old cloud wall. Looks like it's making its way in. But what I noticed and found to be the most interesting on my drive in, because I noticed that, and I'm going north, right, toward LA. I'm noticing that there are sort of 3 or 4 layers of clouds. It's hard to tell right now because of this, but I think you can still see it. Right?
Yeah, there's a couple here. Yeah,
there's almost striations and distinct phase layers of there's these lines, and then sort of puffy, wispy clouds, and then discrete lines, and then underneath is this thick sort of cumulonimbus-looking clouds on the very bottom of it. And because of sort of there's little holes in the bottom cloud layer, sort of the cumulo clouds, you can see up through them.
Yeah.
And you can see that there are distinct layers, and the layers above the thick cumulo nimbus layers look like chemtrails to me. They look like post chemtrails, the kinds that have been around for a while and slowly spread.
Yeah.
And then they also have that sort of, that like effect where where I think the hypothesis is that sometimes they spray and then they like emit a radio wave or something at it to sort of push it or to affect it or ionize it or something, and and it has some part in creating the cloud systems, right, or like the storm systems, and so the effect that you get is that you see sort of like lines between like a cloud. It'd be like a cloud blanket with these sort of discrete lines through it, like someone cut through it with a sharp knife or something, and you can almost see that above. There's like a few layers, and you can see that above us right now. In fact, I should probably take a picture. I think this right here is a
that's probably good.
Not a prime example, but a pretty good example. So I'll take a picture and put it up.
Probably the best one, yeah.
Yeah, there isn't else. I mean, on the way in, there was some really good ones. Like as you look north, there were some really good ones. But right now, it's okay. Anyway, so I just feel like, this seems to me like they forecasted a storm and they made a storm. You know what I mean? It's really cool. And like, since when are they right about a forecast?
Yeah.
Right? It's like usually it's like they say it's gonna rain and it totally doesn't.
Yeah, I know. And I can, like I said, I can remember when I was younger. Yeah, they were never. That was never right.
This just seems fabricated to me,
I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson on his talk show, and they had the astronaut Scott Kelly on there, and he had mentioned something
fascinating, cool.
That he asked him a question of how the food was or something in space, and he was kind of describing it, but the fascinating thing was when he was talking about floating in space, where he couldn't really get comfortable. He was describing it. It was comfortable, but not really comfortable, because it kind of almost felt like you were on a string, kind of.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
I found that was like a.
What was he say? Did he say something about being on a gimbal on a movie set? Oh no.
Yeah, that's probably the outtakes. I'll put that in there, but yeah. So I thought that was kind of. Yeah.
What that was a slip.
That was a slip,
like a Freudian slip, right?
Yeah.
That was sort of like what's that? No, that's not actually the right term, but a slip of where they, sort of they
a little bit
like reveal
disclosure, kind of a little bit,
reveal the truth. Yeah.
I think that was pretty.
That was good.
But I don't know. It's just then they got this Putin propaganda piece in the midst of that commercial breaks in between. It seemed like it played like every commercial break. This Putin propaganda. He's the guy that America should be afraid of, and
it's like the greatest threat.
He's the greatest threat. Yeah,
great nation of freedom. No, actually, wait, what station was that? National Geographic.
I think it was National Geographic.
So it's playing every commercial break.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nat Geo.
Yeah.
Which I would surmise is like a sort of a leftist sort of station, probably. Like I don't imagine that's really being watched by a lot of people on the right, and I think that probably fits right into sort of the programming narrative of the whole like anti-Trump, Mueller, Russia probe investigation, that's been going on forever.
Forever, I know. Come on, like if that was you or I, case closed.
We'd already be in jail.
Yeah. It wouldn't be no investigation. You don't need a special prosecutor. You know what I mean? This is done. This is done. This is
like, what did he do? I don't know, but he's dark.
Yeah. Case closed. Case closed, man.
But I wonder about if that, like, what kind of ad that was. Was it was it a news station ad or something, or some kind of what kind of show would just be like, let's talk about Putin, you know, and how he's so bad. It's like, what's that advertising? You know, because to me that doesn't seem like advertising. That seems more like propaganda, you know. And
it wasn't
like you were saying earlier. Since Obama repealed the act that was preventing the government to make propaganda against the people of the U.S., which is like, you know, I'm doing quotations around preventing because that's so ridiculous. Like, obviously they were not holding that law, but
it's a law. These laws, guys, they're just words, man. They're words on paper. I mean, you can take it from what they are. You can believe them if you want to believe them, and you can enforce them, or you don't have to enforce them. They're just, you know what I mean? They're just.
So everything's negotiable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But you know, so like that kind of seems like propaganda, maybe. I mean, I didn't see it. I wish I'd seen it, but I wonder if it's playing on other channels too. You know, like what it's advertising.
I don't watch much television, so. I just happen to turn it on, so to see what Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't even say his name. Yeah, I can't even say it. It's not even worth saying. I can't even say it.
Tyson. The font of all scientism knowledge.
Yeah, just because he was even
Reverend Tyson. So.
Yeah, he was just talking about
his experience with underwater acrobatics. I bet he does a mean handstand underwater. That guy, Kelly, whatever. Hey, so okay, what was it we were saying? I feel like we were saying something earlier, and then man. Oh well, hey, I had a pretty good heart-to-heart with my wife this last weekend about a lot of sort of, you know how I think I like just on like our last episode or something, I was kind of freaking out about my wife and our conflict, about how it's like she doesn't, you know, she's not into looking under the veil, you know.
Yeah.
And we had a major discussion, and it was actually really positive. And the outcome was that she sort of like revealed to me that she kind of already believes, like regardless of evidence, like she doesn't look into it because she chooses, she wants to be ignorant. She's like willfully ignorant. She's like, I don't want to know about this stuff. I don't look into it.
Okay.
She says that she sort of already believes that the world is essentially like a big veil, or like that there is a, like as if the world we live is the surface layer, and it's not true. You know, she already kind of believes in the idea of like you know, everything is actually like everything is false, and everything is actually run by rich psychopath a-holes, you know, giving crap about anybody, and you know, essentially she kind of feels the same way I do. That's
pretty deep. I mean, for you to,
I really was like, oh, okay, that's really surprising. It's just what the major difference between, let's say, like her and I is that she wants to remain ignorant.
Yeah.
She does not want to look into it. She does not want to know about it.
Okay.
She says that she would be too anxious and stressed out all the time. She'd rather confront the issues at hand. Like, she'd rather confront whatever issue comes up. She wants to be able to, like, bring about the full, like, faculty of her mind to address it. And, you know, these days, she got a lot to think about because we got kids. So it's like we're dealing constantly with the stresses of having little kids, you know. It was good. It was a good talk in that she sort of revealed to me that she's kind of on board.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I actually, like the details, she doesn't really care about. She's more interested in just the overall. She understands the world is kind of, you know, works in kind of an effed up way, essentially, you know. She just wants to do her best in this world, you know. So that was good. I felt like we kind of came together, you know.
That was...
I also found it interesting is that we kind of clashed a little bit on a few, because I brought up a few little details, like I talked about 9/11 again, and and it was strange because I said something like, what was it? She was saying, she believes that most people probably feel the same way. That's what she said. She said I think most people. I mean, I'm like paraphrasing. Obviously. She's like, I think most people truly, like, underneath everything, believe that the world is terrible and run by a bunch of crazy psychopaths. Giving crap about us.
Okay.
But that we sort of would rather play along, and that. So then I was like, I sort of rebutted against that. I sort of was like, no, I don't think so. And to be honest, I think I was just arguing for the sake of arguing. I don't know if I actually disagree with her. I'm not sure, but my like rebuttal was to the effect of, like, it was like, no, I think you're wrong, because I mean, look how the world bought, like, hook, line, sinker, like the world bought that, a bunch of guys with beards, or Muslims with beards, took over planes and crashed them into buildings and made them fall to the ground in their imprint 3 times.
Yeah.
It was like, and we went to war over that, and we're still at war over that. So it's like, I don't think you're right. I think that people buy this stuff, and so anyway, and then so but she responded in a very interesting way. She was like, I'm sorry, and then I kind of like added to that. I was like, oh, no, I've seen and read and listened to enough items of, like, evidence or testimony or gatherings of evidence, to have come to the sort of conclusion, a pretty firm conclusion, that, like, the narrative was bogus, and that it was the parties involved, according to the narrative, are incorrect, and that really it's actually more likely is done by people within our government, within other governments, is more likely a false flag event of some, like in some nature, And I know it's a very vague thing. I'm not saying it was done by space lasers, by Cheney, but because I can't come to a firm conclusion about that, but I can be like, it was not 19 Muslims with box cutters. That's not what happened, and it wasn't planes and office fires. That was not what happened. So, like, I said that, and her response was, but what if Muslims made all those videos and made all those books and put out all those actors to convince the world that there was a conspiracy, and actually it was the Muslims? And that was her response. And I was just like, she's a brilliant woman, and I love her, and I think she's really intelligent, really logical and rational. But that is coming from a place of cognitive dissonance. That's essentially what I told her. I was like, I'm sorry, but just the very fact that you said that tells me that, like, you're not really ready or, like, willing to truly acknowledge this. Like, you say that you believe that, sure, but I mean, all you'd have to do is look into it for maybe like 15 minutes, and I think you'd have enough to come to a similar conclusion, or at least you'd put your foot in the door to the effect where you would not believe the narrative anymore. Whether or not, because I think that the conclusions that you and I have come to are sort of like based on hours and hours and hours of research, over too much probably, but I mean, if you looked into it for a few minutes, like 10, 15 minutes maybe, I think you would come to a conclusion that the narrative is wrong, that, like, something's up, something's amiss. You're right. And it's like, it doesn't have anything to do with, is this a psyop by Muslims to convince, like, nah, that's the only way you come up with that is because you're totally ignorant of what's out there. If you start looking into it, you see it speaks for itself. The truth speaks for itself.
And I know I mentioned this too previously. Did you, probably didn't, but ask about, okay, if it was the Muslims and they did come up with that conspiracy,
they're sort of anti-conspiracy, like,
why wasn't the military activated if we're being attacked? How come no fighter jets were activated when the towers got hit the second time, and they were saying we're under attack? Those fighter jets should have been in the air And DC never
because
should
they
have
were
been
all
touched.
participating in same day drills about planes flying into buildings. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Okay.
No, they were all sent off the coast.
They were
pointing
sent
in the
off the
other
coast.
direction, 100 miles away. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just coincidence, though. No, that was the Muslims. You know.
The only loophole in that story is that you would never leave your capital city unprotected.
And if you did,
even if it
then
was
get
a drill,
the hell out of office.
Yeah.
Because you're not fit to run the country.
Yeah, even if your capital, even if you are running a drill, your capital is not going to be unprotected.
Yeah.
You would say these ships or planes can be on the drill, but we're going to have backups here. So
that's a great example of just like very clearly this was on some level an inside job.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, no matter what you want to go into, whether or not this or that, or bombs, or Cheney, or whatever, it's like this was on some level an inside job because of that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because you know what? I think that I think it's safe to assume that that the people in charge of countries and stuff, they're not going to leave stuff undefended like that to allow that to happen. That's so ridiculous. That's such an example. That's like such a mismanaged. What am I trying to say? That's such poor tactician.
Yes,
that like
it is.
How there's no way that the people's in charge of these things are in those positions of power, and they're so inept, so dumb, that they'd let that happen. And it's like this was allowed. That was allowed to happen. Yeah, that's a logical conclusion, is that it was allowed to happen, right? So and if it was allowed to happen, then that means that in some way this was an inside job. Whether or not it was like, who knows the extent, that's, you look into it more and you make your own conclusions. But and that's like something that's simple logic. You don't have to be
you don't.
you don't
look at that.
Have to look into it more than like 5 minutes.
You have the most powerful military complex on the globe, and
you spend literally the most money out of all countries in the world.
Of the top 10 countries, the next top 10 countries, we spend more
and military, and like Muslims with box cutters from the caves.
Yeah, you should be very
We're
terrified.
able to crash into army. Yeah, we had to be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's like, let's just play chess, but I'm gonna wipe up all my pawns. I don't need them to kind of get in the way. I don't need to use these. But just, that's just simple, right?
Okay, so the reason, I didn't bring that up. I don't bother to bring up evidence if I don't sense that the person I'm talking to is willing to listen. To it, right? Because you can almost tell. It's almost like, I could argue my ass off, and I'm a good arguer, and I know how to come up with good points, and there are some topics like I know, and I will win that argument. But like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't want to argue, beat down people with arguments to win. It's like, no, it's if you're not, because ultimately, if the person isn't receptive to that info, it's not going to change their mind. It's not going to get in there. It's not going to leave that seed. It's not going to incept their mind. That's not what I want. I'm not trying to like lay a barrage of evidence to convince someone. It's if you're looking, I've got some info and I would love to share. That's how it is. It's like, and likewise, that's when I talk to people. It's like, if you've got some info, I would love to hear it. It's like that. It just, at that moment, I sensed like my wife was not like really trying to hear it. I sensed that she was like, I don't want to hear this, which is essentially what she told me just a few minutes before. So I but still, though, I found it funny that it was almost like her instinct, like her programming kind of kicked in.
That was kind of like a disconnect, because she was telling you, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And you were like,
but here, there's more.
But you were receptive to that.
That's like typical man stuff.
Yeah.
but
just, I know, because when we were watching the, wife had the, like I said, I don't watch much TV, but she had the Kardashians. I'm like, why are you still watching this show? This is nothing but a big ass commercial.
A big ass, three big asses.
Just they're just, what do you call it? It's just a big
gluteally challenged.
Just a big commercial, basically. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff they're getting is for free. They're not, you know what I mean? They're able to keep up with it, like the show said. But all this stuff is gifted to them or rented or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just a big
it's
advertisement, which is crazy, which is brilliant. But
I can't believe that's a show. It's
But just, I mean, a bunch of those reality shows. You know what I mean? People trying to live up to that standard, and this stuff is gifted to them. You know what I mean? And their morals isn't. You know what I mean? Isn't.
Like, was it you I was having a discussion with about how the rich get the handouts and the poor have to work for stuff? Was that you ever talking about that?
I think, yeah. Well, you know what?
Like, we're having some kind of, like, I felt like this happened recently, right? Were we talking about that?
I'm sure we did. I'm sure
getting sort of like
they all
free stuff from like each other. They kind of give them.
They give each other,
people,
and the poor stay poor because
it was our coworker, the one who owns the business. He was saying this because he worked some event for some rich people.
Oh,
he noticed that at this event, it was like everybody was trying to give the rich people stuff for free and give their services for free as like free networking or free advertising because it's like because this rich person is connected to lots of other rich people. So you're like, oh, I'll do this work for free because you can tell other people to get me more business. You know, it's like all these rich people and this really fancy fucking party that they didn't pay for.
Correct.
And they're getting all this fancy ass free food. It's like, you're all rich already.
That's what
Why are we giving you free food? There's starving people right outside. You know?
We were walking in the mall, and there was like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and all that. And I was like, what's the difference between this leather here and this leather over at Ross or wherever it is?
Well, that one's non-GMO.
I'm sorry.
Free range.
It's free range, yeah. So I was like, but the markup is like, 5,000%.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Like for the small wallet for $400 for a wallet, which is.
I think it's like
animal
hide.
hide.
On a wallet, $10 maybe. I don't know. I feel like
and it's genuine leather.
It
there's
better be
genuine
like,
leather here and there's leather over here. So it's
if it's still genuine leather, what's the difference? Yeah.
What is the difference?
So you are literally paying for the brand.
The brand. You're paying for the brand.
For the like association or something.
Correct.
Like the networking.
And I was just like.
He was saying that too, because he comes from the business kind of world, right? And he was saying how, I feel like I'm going to misquote him or something, or paraphrasing wrong, but it has something to do with he was saying how the rich people have these brands and this association and these networking, kind of complexes, and they help each other out, and they sell product to the poor people. Essentially, it's like the poor, as in the lower class and the middle class. The upper class sells their overpriced shit to us,
who make it.
We're the ones that make it
and
under
sell
cost.
It back to us.
And then we're the ones buying it, and consuming it, because they don't really have to buy things. They kind of just get things.
They just give it to each other.
Or they have so much money, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's not.
And I want to be clear because I feel like I have to say this over and over again. It's the concept of class, like upper, middle, lower, 1%. Like these, we've been psyoped. Like truly, the upper class that we think about when we're talking about upper class, like the doctor that owns that house on the hill or whatever.
Yeah.
He is not upper. Like he's not the 1%.
No, he's not.
He's like the 30% or something.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, the opposite. He's like the 70. No, he's not. What am I trying to say? He's part of the 70%, right? Because there's still like so many people far wealthier than these people. It's like, you have a mansion on a hill and you can afford a $400 wallet like it ain't no thing, but you're still part of the system that's making this go around. There are people that are truly in charge.
Or Bentley that I saw.
They don't pay for things. They get things. They give around to each other. He was kind of expressing that because he's kind of noticed this in the way his business works. He kind of gets his glimpses of like wealth all the time. And it's very, very interesting hearing his perspective.
Yeah, it's sad. It's like you have a Inuit. That's like an Inuit making ice in Alaska, and then they have to go to the store to buy the ice. It's kind of like what the hell? Like, you're going to work to make these products, and then your paycheck you're going out trying to spend it to buy the product, which is it's I don't know, man.
Well,
like
we live in. I mean, so
you just stay in that circle where it's like not that rat race. You just stay in that hamster wheel.
I was trying to explain to my wife, and I like, and she didn't. We didn't get that far. We're too busy arguing about whether or not this or that was a false flag or something. But it's funny because she acknowledged that false flags exist. And I was like, well, why are you talking about, like, literally this morning you're talking about the Parkland school, like it's for sure a real thing. And it's like, anyway. But I think that sort of the larger argument or ideology I was trying to like get through to her, that I was hoping she would come on board with, was that, yeah, this is a terrible rat race, terrible system made by these psychopaths who don't give a crap about us, and they want to continue to use us and squeeze us, and by any means possible to make themselves more powerful and to continue their lives the way as is. This is like the status quo, and they think so little of us, they're even willing to like kill and maim and hurt us. And poison us and kill all of our children. They're willing to do this because they don't give a shit about us, because we're nothing to them. We're fodder. It's like, do you understand? Like, our children, they would totally kill our children in any way that they saw fit if it meant that they could help push their narrative, and I was like, their agenda. Like, this is why it's important to me. Not like this is why I'm so into it, and I want to know as much as possible, and I want to be as prepared as possible. Is because of it's not just that, like, oh, it's really an inside job, bro, and we're truthers and America and freedom. No, it's like these people are terrible people, and I've got a family to care for, and I don't want terrible people to be able to do things to my family. I know it's stupid because there's no way I can stop it.
Yeah, I mean,
but I don't know. That's I was like trying to express to her is like this. That's why I want to know about the system and try my best to get out of the system as best as I can. Because the system is made by people that like hate us, that don't give a crap about it, or I guess it's worse than hate. They just don't give a crap about us, and then. And we should get out of it. Yeah, it's not a good place to be within a system created by people that don't care about us. That doesn't make sense to be part of that, right? I mean, I feel like it should be like survival instinct to like detach as much as you can from the system that's trying to hurt you, right? That's what I was trying to get through to her, but
I think it was definitely a step forward for her.
It was a step forward.
It was. So now she's at least at the table. You may not eat the plate, but at least you're here. So now at least you can look at it.
She fully expressed that she's like stands by, that we should be prepared. We should learn how to do all kinds of things. We should be as off-grid as possible. Yeah, and she said that she believes that the world works that way. I just don't. Again, I think you kind of have to look into it at least a little bit to really understand what it is that we're getting at. It's not just like, oh, Trump and Obama and Bush, they're all puppets of the corporations. No, it's like, and they want to massacre you.
Yeah.
Because that's an important qualitative statement. It's like, it's not just that it's corrupt because of money and power. It's like, and they want you to die.
Yeah.
And they will kill you if it means anything of their gain. Or they'll just kill you just because you don't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's like, that's an important thing to understand about the way our world works.
Consequences, you know what I mean? Or
there's no consequence for that.
There's none for that, right? Like I said, we see it every day, throughout the presidency, you know what I mean? How many people have gone to jail? How many politicians have...
That sounds like you.
Yeah, we're still here.
No. Crack.
Yeah, we're still here. It is LA, so. But yeah, like I said, how many of them are sitting in prison doing hard labor? Or you know what I mean? It's
even the ones that go
to
prison,
right? It's laughable.
The nice cushy cells.
Correct. It's not this. Like, that's huge, It's like I feel like an uphill battle, but just trying to get my wife on board too. Also, just to at least get to the table. I think it's they don't want to accept it because you do feel helpless. But I don't know.
I'm sorry. I was totally like distracted just now. Oh. Sorry, I was like, okay. I was thinking about how I have sort of some really interesting like first-hand info that I wanted to share with you. And it's so yeah. The thing is, I don't have enough info to really get into it, but I want to just make sure that I start the dialogue, and then we can, as I learn more, then I'll share it and we can discuss it. Because also it's kind of exciting because like I feel like we've talked about it in the past about how it's like we can sort of. We do these rambles and we have our talks at work, and it's like we can just listen and observe and research, but we don't know anything. We don't have any first-hand investigative experience. You know, it's like this is some first-hand stuff. Like apparently I have a family member, a younger niece, who is now first year in college, and supposedly she saw how after the shooting, the recent Parkland City shootings, they've been showcasing this kid all the time, this like dark-haired kid, and he's like really well spoken, and he's the one that everyone online is like, what's up with this kid? This seems to be like more evidence of false flag, because he says stuff like, my dad was an FBI agent. He said he's way too like well spoken. He says like the perfect like political statements that you need to say. He's the one advocating for gun control and starting all this stuff with like online, like social media, anti-gun stuff. And he wants to start like a school, like a ditch day and stuff to, so it just seems like he's the perfect like plant in a false flag event of this type to be in, so he's like the prime target for all the truther community is like, what's up with this guy? This guy's suspicious, So then, supposedly, she knows him from high school, she just graduated, like a year ago or something. So this would put him within about 4 years, approximately, plus or minus, right? Yeah. Within her age. So that would sort of lend more evidence to him being the same age as her, or similar age, not 25. Right. And I just find it really interesting. And also, that's here in LA. What's he doing over there in Florida, And if you watch, I think I watched, what was it? In Truth by Grace. She has a great channel that I really think is great. She had done a little bit of research and found out like this kid, David Hoggs or something, Hoggs, I don't know. He's been in the news before. And it was regarding something in like Redondo Beach, like right here in LA, this is South LA, And yeah, he was something about some argument with a lifeguard. And I need to look into it because I want to know, like, is this something that's like just stupid, silly local news crap, or is this part of some agenda to push some statute or push some law or something, Is this dad really FBI, And because that area and those schools there's a lot of really rich people that like come from, up on the Palos Verdes Hills where they have like Trump golf course and stuff up there. And part of those who believe that they're upper class, that's like a lot of them live there. And it wouldn't surprise me if somebody whose dad was FBI would go to that school and be part of something like this. Whether or not it was truly false flag or if it was, allowed to happen, and then the narrative was changed, But anyway, I need to get more info, and I want to discuss that.
Yeah, we can follow up on that one. That's a good one.
I'm going to actually speak directly to her. I only got this all like sort of third hand. I got it, or second hand. I got it from my family was talking about this. They were all watching the kid talk on like CNN or something. That kid David, whatever, and he's all out there. We need to, make sure guns are going away because it's bad, and he's doing his whole like anti-gun thing with his prepubescent voice and all this. Very annoying to listen to him talk, but they're all proud of him. They're like, oh wow, look at this brilliant kid. Oh, and our family knows him. Oh, cool. And it's like, God, that's that's the kind of shit that annoys me so much. That's like similar to the whole SpaceX thing. Mission to Mars.
There we go. Even though we can't leave low Earth orbit, right? Yeah. Mission to Mars. Here we come. 2020.
2020. Anyway, so I just thought I would sort of bring that up, and then I'm going to do some research and come back at you with some breaking news.
Sounds good, man. That's really follow.
You heard it first on Rooftop Rambles.
Trying to really get in depth with that story. You know what I mean? Kind of fun. A little bit more. A little more.
I'm really excited about the idea of also maybe possibly sharing some info that may not be out there. At least as far as I've seen, like I haven't seen any other videos that got into where this kid came from, other than that one by In Truth by Grace. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what if I could get some info out there and we put it out there and help some people, put together the narrative better.
Yeah.
And shit, it's cold.
It's cold. Yeah.
All right. Whew. Let's cut it off here.
All right.
This is urbanamp. I'm freezing out.
This is Niijii. We're out. Take care. Thanks for listening.